everybody wants to find their seat, we'll get started here in a minute. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning, and it's good to have a back in-person forecast breakfast. So welcome to the 2022 Forecast Breakfast hosted by the Morton Chamber of Commerce. I'm Jackie Austin. I'm the Vice President of the Chamber Board. And I'm really excited that we're here to gather and learn more about our Morton community. And I want to thank Justin Farrell and Coldwell Banker Commercial Comfort Inn and Suites and our breakfast by TCRC. Please join me as I say yes, thank you. Please join me as we begin with our invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather this morning as a community and give thanks to you for all of our blessings. We hope all will turn to you for guidance and continue to fill our hearts with the glory you provide. We ask that you are with our speakers today as they share the opportunities you have provided and help guide their words to share their message. Thank you for this food provided by TCRC and our host team at Comfort Inn and Suites. We look forward to the hope and joy you will provide as we come together as a community to glorify you. We celebrate this forecast breakfast in your holy name. Amen. So as you enjoy your breakfast, we're going to start with Mayor Jeff Kaufman to share from our village of Morton.
Good morning. I too would like to thank the Chamber and Justin Farrell, Coldwell Banker, and Comfort Inn and Suites, and all those that are hosting this event. Isn't it nice to be in a live setting, 90-some people here? This is tremendous. But I think we all need to be mindful and prayerful too for those that have lost loved ones in the last couple of years of this pandemic. There has been some sorrow. But I do believe that the good Lord has been very gracious to Morton, Illinois, very gracious. And I believe the speakers today all have very good news about Morton and their organizations, extremely good news. But I'm the first one here to say that all is good in Morton, Illinois, and I firmly believe 2022, 2023 is going to be a very big year in Morton, extremely. And why do I say that? Number one, we got done this year working with the school board on expansion of the Morton Junior High by buying 6 houses, moving 1 gentleman, tearing 5 houses down, closing a street, and putting a 189-car parking lot in the middle of Morton, and getting rid of all the unsafe parking around the junior high. And by doing that, we acquired the 17.5 acres from the school board out on Harding Road. And within a week, we had that sold to Morton Rentals and traded their property on Birchwood. And if anybody's been by Birchwood, the building's gone. Morton Rentals put up a 20,000 square foot building and has a very successful building out there added to Morton. And what are we going to do with that 3 acres? Well, we worked with the Opperly family, Bill and Steve, and we acquired another 3/4 of an acre. And on that site, there's 2 buildings remaining, and we're going to reside them and complement them to the neighborhood. But on that corner alone, we're going to be going out shortly for bids for a 20,000 square foot building for the village of Morton. And what that's going to house is the Morton Gas Department and Water Distribution Department. We're going to move 2 departments out of Detroit Street. We've outgrown the facility. The equipment's bigger. We need bigger bays for the mechanics to work on these units. So we're going to move 2 departments to this area. And you have to understand, you own the largest gas municipality in the state of Illinois. So those 5 people, that location is the center of Morton. So they can respond to any emergency gas leak. They want to be there. By getting the ground from Opperly's, we have a rear entrance. So we're going to have gas lights on the front of the building. We're going to have a water feature in the yard. Nate Parrott's here. He's going to design it. So, and you asked me why. Well, I had a nice discussion with the new school superintendent, Craig Smock, And it's every intention of the village board to work with the school board, so us grandparents and you parents know that there's job opportunities with the village of Morton. These water permits and everything, they're hard to find people that qualify that. They're good jobs. If you can't work in Morton, you can work anywhere in the state. So we're going to encourage the students to seek some of these job opportunities. Also, in the last couple meetings, if you've been watching the board meetings, we bought $550,000 worth of new plows. Two of them, we usually keep everything 20 years old, and we bought a lawnmower. You might ask, well, why would you tell me that? Well, we're coming out of a pandemic, and we're going to write a check for $550,000 for 2 snow plows, and we're buying a lawnmower. The lawnmower is the size of a Bobcat machine on tracks, and the village staff is going to do it by remote control. It's a $106,000 remote control mower to mow the creek beds. One of the biggest things the citizens like is our creeks mowed, and we're going to get them done better and sooner. But to be able to come out of a 2-year pandemic, be able to do these kinds of things is a tremendous opportunity. Also, the Detroit Water Treatment Building on Detroit is a $10,848,000 expansion. It's the first water treatment plant in the state of Illinois that treats the ammonia. In the aquifer in this area, they have ammonia in the water. We're going to treat that ammonia before it gets into distribution. There's only one in the state of Illinois, and it's in Morton, Illinois. There's only one in Iowa, and we toured it. It's a new state of the art, so a winter ago, Craig Laudermilk asked me what I was doing on an ugly, nasty day, and I had to go to Springfield. And he goes, they're going to want to know how we're going to pay for this, Jeff. So 3 very nice 40, 45-year-old engineers from the state IEPA we were working with asked me how we were going to pay for it, and they rattled off for at least 5 minutes this government loan. And I said at the end of it, we're going to write a check. Honestly, all 3 of their mouths dropped open. But I said, you have a job, and they go, what's that? I go, it takes 1.5 years to 2 years to build it. I want state of the art. So if there's anything invented that goes inside those buildings that costs $200,000 and does something better, I want it too, and I'll write the check. You could hear a pin drop in that room. So we've been charging everybody in this room, every business, every homeowner, for the last 17 years, a little bit on your water bill. You wouldn't even notice it. And there's over $11 million in that fund. We're going to write a check for the entire expansion. And we added a waterfall that's going to be lit, and it's going to recycle water, and I told Craig Laudermilk it didn't cost nothing. He had me and Nate go to a meeting, he wasn't there, and we added a waterfall. So I want Detroit Street developed. We've resurfaced that so many times. I want to get businesses and jobs on Detroit. So also a couple meetings ago, over here on the display behind the ladies, you'll see the old Kmart building. And that has been sold to U-Haul. They needed a special use permit in order to park small trailers and trucks in the parking lot. So we worked with them, and they're going to spend well over $1 million refurbishing that building. And there will be no outside storage. It took me 2 years to convince them that Morton's different, and they wouldn't get a trustee to vote for it, not even for one shed in the parking lot. And Dan Maloof called me, he goes, Jeff, you have to explain to them just how different Morton is. So we got it done, and they're going to have interior climate-controlled storage, and the overhead bays where the mechanics used to be, you're going to be able to back in there, unload, and load out of the weather. And if you see, they've actually used the Morton logo that you see on the signs, I believe is designed by the chamber, on the Morton sign on the front, and they're also going to have it on the expressway, so when you come around from Peoria, you're going to see the Morton logo on the old Kmart building in the top 8 feet of the building. It's really a nice look. All the orange doors you see in those 2 pictures are fakes. There's no access to the orange doors. They are adding a couple other doors, but they're just giving you what's it and that. So they're going to patch the blacktop, reseal it, stripe it, and we're requiring several islands, trees planted. The signage to the shopping center has to be landscaped. So they actually had to do a walk around with me a week ago on a Tuesday. Since it's special use, anybody who knows me, I'm into the details. We made a list. They approved it. No argument. They're fine gentlemen to work with. The vice president of U-Haul of Illinois is Aaron Freeman, and the president is Zari Manassan. I can beat up the name better than anybody, but that's actually the correct spelling. Fine gentleman, and I kept selling them on the idea that it has to blend with the shopping center so it doesn't interfere with the retail. I says the citizens will support it, but it has to blend, and they understand it, and they're really going to try to have a grand opening and everything, and they're really supporting it. So great to work with them. Monday night, we just got a 34-page development agreement done with what I honestly think is the biggest thing to come to Morton since Caterpillar, precision planning. And you say, why is that, Jeff? Because out on Erie Street, past construction materials, out by Morton Buildings, they're going to develop 85 acres of ground. They're going to put $3 million of infrastructure in a street and a stoplight at Erie and Birchwood. And they're going to build a 45-foot tall building, 510,000 square feet. Within 6 to 8 years, they plan on a 300,000 square foot addition. And there's an additional 10 acres of office and other buildings, which I had them put in with the tax abatement, because my intention is I want them to build on that 10 acres before 10 years. We need more activity out there, because I told the staff, hold on, that's not going to be the last one you see. That is going to be a 45-foot tall billboard come to Morton. This is like what you see going to Joliet exit, all those transportation hubs and that. We're going to have one right here in Morton. They're owned by AgCorp, a major corporation in the United States, and this is going to be their distribution hub, because you can go, believe it or not, we have some of the highest traffic counts south of Chicago, Illinois, at the intersection of I-55 and 74. And personally, I want to take our infrastructure for a ride. And what I mean by that is our infrastructure is maintained at the highest level around, it's paid for, and we have to install a 16-inch water line bored underneath I-55 to handle all this development. That water line is going to cost $861,000. We have the money in the bank to pay for that. In our second meeting with them, we surprised them, because our first meeting, they found out they weren't coming unless they paid for $3 million of infrastructure. The second meeting, me, myself, Steve Leach, trustee, and Craig Laudermilk had a meeting. We knew their counts of employees, we knew their counts of semis, and we decided one entrance is not going to work. Morton Buildings, Kaiser Electric, a big, large Kaiser electrical company, they're not going to be able to function normally with this amount of traffic. So we decided we were going to offer to develop Flint Street as a second access. So between Flint Street addition of $3 million and the water line, we're going to spend as taxpayers $4.106 million of infrastructure. We're going to pay cash for that over 2 years it's going to take to get all the permits to get this done. But nobody's getting a free ride. All the documents will be written, so anybody that access that road, because when you park at the end of Erie and look toward Roth Road, that is now prime for the next 40 years. I told Clint Heinold and Leanne Brown in a private meeting, for the next 40 years, we have development ready to access. All they need to do is talk to us, and we'll figure out where the roads and what angles they're going to. And so anybody that access will pay the fee, and the taxpayers will recoup that entire $4.1 million. But we're set up for business. We're definitely business friendly. We know how to do it. And I had a private meeting with Keith Crow in my office for a couple hours, and we talked about how the whole thing went down. And I said, you had to be impressed that in the second meeting that a population of 17,000 could put infrastructure in for $4 million, give you a second entrance, which you know you need to operate. And he goes, Jeff, we were absolutely impressed. And they have a large company, a national firm, building the building, and they have been great to work with, and they're looking forward to being part of Morton. And once it's all passed by all the taxing bodies, then we'll have an opening and show you what it's going to look like. And it's quite the addition to Morton, Illinois. Also, next fall of '23, with the plans, or the floor plan is pretty well done. I'm going to be asking the trustees to vote on an addition to City Hall, approximately $4 million. The City Hall doesn't work, guys. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it is the old post office. The air conditioning, the heating is either hot, cold. The rooms are too small. Everything me and Craig Laudermilk talk about is $1 million, and I'm tired of looking over his shoulder. We need a screen on the wall, and it's just time to remodel it. Other communities with our assets would probably go build a $12 million facility. We got everything down there. We got a parking lot paid for. We don't have to have the movie expense. We have the generator of $250,000 for backup power. We own all the property around it. We can add on nicely and be right downtown to support the businesses. So we're planning on getting the water distribution building built on Birchwood and then going right to City Hall. And there's enough money in the gas fund to pay cash for the distribution building on Birchwood. And your general fund of $7 million in the last couple of years has made $2.8 million. We now have about $11 million in it. So we have plenty of assets to pay for City Hall addition. And the trustees that served with me 10 years ago, we've all agreed we should have added on to it 10 years ago. But now the assets have built up and it's not going to be a problem. So, and there's other businesses looking to Morton, and I can put it out there that I'm one signature away from another big deal, but I'm not going to announce it or do it until I know it is. But we're working on it to the point that I've actually in the last couple of months prioritized what our legal counsel has to get done every day. That's how busy we are. But Craig Laudermilk's actually done it to me too. He's made me go to certain meetings because there's a lot of interest in Morton, Illinois. There really is. And to come out of a pandemic, to have these opportunities to be able to pay cash is amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. So I would like to say, you know, since this pandemic started 2 years ago in March of 2020, if you remember those times, I think all the speakers today could tell you how it affected them and their organizations. And I can certainly tell you, as a governing body of Morton, that this experience, words can't describe it. The pressure was unbelievable. We had to keep the gas, water, and sewer running with 5 employees. We could not get all 5 sick at one time. We had to change ordinances, cancel permits, cancel costs. And the staff we have, we made a lot of tough decisions. And I can tell you, thank God we didn't have to change any of them. It worked, but we couldn't have done this without the staff we have. The staff, I've always said, is a reflection of the community. Hardworking, ethical, and we got it done. And I want to give them a public thank you for doing that. But the great news is our Morton citizens, and they responded to the call. And you might say, well, what was that call? That call was to keep our Morton businesses open. And I have the proof of the pudding right here that they did it. Because all the mayors in this area, we have a mayor's meeting about every 2 months. I have one tonight. And I get to brag about Morton again tonight because we have a round table. But all the mayors are forecasting 10 to 20% less in sales tax. In 2020, in a pandemic year, Morton, Illinois, as far as I know, it's the only community around, we ended up $10,000 ahead of 2019. So far, 2021, which has definitely been affected by pandemic, in the first 11 months, our fiscal year ends May 1st. We'll know the final total shortly. But in the first 11 months, our sales tax is up $410,000. The citizens responded by supporting the restaurants, the gift shops, warehouses, car dealers, businesses in Morton, because almost all of our businesses survived. And I think I'm so proud, but I'm humbled by what the Morton citizens did. And it's not about the money, but the money proves the point that they spent their money in Morton and kept the businesses open. I've seen it myself. I know a lot of them gave bigger tips to the hired help so they could survive, but it's a compliment to all of you and all the citizens of Morton that happened. And if you remember coming out of Christmas 2020, the pandemic, I personally seen it, Morton was down, and Morton citizens aren't down. You know, and you were going into February of 2020, just have a couple last things to say. We had that gas, illegal gas. We proved that was $2.7 million of illegal gas charges. We get our gas out of the same line Ameren does. All it was a matter of a piece of paper they sent us that we had to write a check for an additional $2.7 million by by Thursday. On the phone one day, I talked to the governor's office, state senators, state reps, U.S. congressmen all day, telling them what the situation was. We are only one of 60 communities that own the gas supply. We are the only one that could write the check. Everybody else had to borrow the money. And when I say we paid the $2.7 million illegal, yes, each of you paid more gas that month. But if we wouldn't have paid the $2.7 million, your gas bill would have been approximately 5 times what it was in 2019. Caterpillar alone was usually paid $100,000. Their bill would have been $500,000. By us paying the 2.7, their bill was $250,000. And I can give you all kinds of examples because me and Craig Laudermilk use our houses as examples and what we were. So we tried to do the right thing. They have been fined $350,000. We've recouped. We're still down about $2.3 million. We hope the state legislature or the federal government, the senators and congressmen, will fight the battle and recoup the rest. We just don't know. The other crazy thing in March of that year, regardless of what you think of it, we did Baking Up Love, a movie. And you wonder why I did it? I thought I had one chance after spending all day with them to change the tone of Morton. And if nothing else came out of the movie, I can tell you it changed the tone of Morton. And people were talking about something else besides the pandemic. But I want you to know, as of 2 months ago, they signed a contract. Baking Up Love now, if you go to the Caribbean islands, is playing in the Caribbean islands. So your Pumpkins and Libby's and Morton, metal construction, confectionery, you can see it all in the Caribbean islands. So who would have thought? So anyhow, a lot of good has happened in Morton, Illinois, thanks to each of you. Thank you. Dr. Hill.
Morning, everybody. Well, now I know what I'm going to do in my retirement. I'm going to go to the Caribbean and watch Baking Up Love. Thanks for that tip, Mayor Kaufman. Morton School District has had a great last couple of years, but before I get to some of the amazing results that our students have presented, I want to introduce folks from our school district that are here this morning. So at this table here, we have board members Tom Neely, David Cross, Tim Breaker. We have our newly minted junior high principal, Chris Carter, assistant superintendent and soon-to-be superintendent, Dr. Craig Smock, and Dr. Troy Teeter, our director of curriculum and technology, and Bart Rinkenberger, board member. So thanks everybody for being here. So back to normal, moving forward. 3 things I'm going to talk about this morning, and I'm going to try to make my comments meaningful but brief because Dr. Smock will also be speaking this morning a little bit about, he's going to be actually doing the real forecasting. I'm doing the sort of recapping is how I would put it. So we were in person the last 2 years, and that's because of Morton. That's because of the support of the community. It's because of the charge from our board. It's because of the commitment of our teachers. And I think one of the things that you'll see over the next couple slides is the difference that it's made in the lives of our students, and I believe in the life of our community. And so, kind of getting right to it, results of in-person learning. We belong to a group of, there's a group of schools that use a consultant by the name of ECRA, and they did a study of schools that were in the pandemic and how they did coming out of the pandemic. And when you take a look at the left-hand column, that's the group of students that were in the study. I think there was probably 25,000 or so students that they took a look at their student achievement. And in those districts, the yellow dots are lower than pre-pandemic levels, and the red dot is significantly lower. And then if you look at Morton, you see there's the green dots there, and the green dots mean that we were at pre-pandemic levels. So coming out of the pandemic, when you heard a lot about unfinished learning, students not being able to succeed, our students, our teachers, our administrative staff were able to help our students learn at the same levels that they were at prior to the pandemic. Quite an accomplishment. And that was reading for 2nd through 8th grade. Math is even more significant when you look at math instruction being what it is, needing continuity, needing day-to-day repetition. You can see that in math, we really shined, and again, pre-pandemic levels for just about everybody in our school district. So very proud of those accomplishments. When you look at our high school kids and the SAT, one of the things that you'll notice is this bottom row of expected growth. There's a 15,000 student study that was done, and those averages are 16% with high growth, 68% with expected, and 16% with low growth. Well, if you look at the Morton side, which is this, our ELA was at 12% low growth, 20% high growth. Both the low growth is below what was expected, the high growth was above what was expected. You see the same thing in math, and you see the middle group about average or a little bit above. So one of the things that you can say about our Morton kids throughout the pandemic is they've exceeded expectations. Our staff has exceeded expectations, and that's not easy, because to have in-person learning throughout the pandemic was a daily, constant struggle with students in and out due to quarantines and illness, staff in and out because of quarantines and illness, some staff teaching from home. One of the things that Dr. Smock facilitated was if a staff member was able to teach from home, so they were well enough to teach from home, we allowed them to teach from home remotely. So it kept continuity of instruction for our students. And so I think those kinds of things and that persistence and determination of our staff through the pandemic really helped our students succeed in the classroom. And if you kind of take a look at this summary slide, you know, Morton student progress was consistent with pre-pandemic levels in reading and in math. And you also see this last area of impact. You know, one of the things that the pandemic was most harmful to were students who struggle in school normally, and those students making gains. And you can see that Morton, we had equitable progress amongst our low income, our IEP, our English as a second language students. So we did a really good job with those students as well, for a variety of different things. But it wasn't just the classroom, and this is we've kind of had an amazing couple of years outside of the classroom as well. And it's just another example of the persistence and the resiliency of our students and our coaches and our sponsors, and our desire to keep our students' lives as normal as possible as we've moved through this pandemic. And so this is junior high school success, undefeated baseball teams, runner-up in baseball, runner-up in basketball, state qualifiers, state placers in chess, and boys and girls bowling, so, and a number of other things. And then if you look at high school, or I'm sorry, we have a fine arts slide as well. Our fine arts kids continue to perform throughout the pandemic. That was really unusual, especially for bands. Some school districts didn't have band practice because of COVID concerns, so on and so forth. We continue to push through. And then if you look at the high school success, very similar, both in 2021, and then of course this year has been kind of an unbelievable year as far as the extracurricular success of our students. And I gotta believe that the community support, the board's charge to stay in school is a big reason for all of this success. It really is kind of a key piece in students having as normal lives as possible, getting to participate in the things that they normally would participate in, pursue their passions and their loves that, when you're in high school, that's kind of your only opportunity a lot of times to do those things. And, we were able to do that as a school district and as a community, and I think it's going to pay great dividends down the road. And once again, also fine arts, some tremendous accomplishments. Marching band, once again, grand champs. Second place overall at Bands of America Cedar Falls Regional. 2A champions. Orchestra, wind ensemble, chosen for selective performances throughout the state. Really kind of tremendous work. Now that takes us up to today as far as how we're doing as a school district. And I focused really today more on student performance than we did on some of the other things that we've talked about in the past, like finances or facilities, because I really feel like our biggest accomplishment this year is the work that our students have, and last year have been the work that our students have done and the work that they were allowed to do because of the community of Morton, the support of the board, and the hard work of our teachers and administrators. So really great work. I'm going to introduce Dr. Smock now to come up, but I want to say a couple things about him before he gets going on forecasting. You won't find a more dedicated, hardworking leader who knows and loves the Morton School District than Dr. Craig Smock. And I'm excited to see the kinds of things that he's going to do in leading the district into the future. And it's been my pleasure to work with him these last 5 years because he has done all the things behind the scenes, all the details, all the COVID forms that people probably in this room have filled out, and he's processed and he's turned that into a spreadsheet so everybody in the district can know exactly where we're at every single day of this pandemic so we could be completely transparent. That was Dr. Smock. And so I'm excited for him to be in this position come July 1 and looking forward to his comments. Dr. Smock.
Well, Dr. Hill is a very tough act to follow. He has been an outstanding leader through very difficult times in this district, and I think he deserves a round of applause for his leadership as he retires. I was thinking about our presentation, Jeff, and how it's very similar to the weather forecast. It has two parts. The first part, the weatherman gets to tell you about everything that already happened with perfect accuracy, right? And the second part, the weatherman attempts to predict the future. So I get that part. I get the second part, and all right, I got the technology working, so far so good. So when I think of a motto for what we're looking at into the future, I think of kids thriving today and kids prepared for tomorrow. There's a present tense sense of it, what's happening now, and there's a future hope in what we're doing in education. And in this, there are challenges that we're facing. And I think you could probably come up with this same list of challenges that we have in education. And I know it's not the most optimistic way to look at it as challenges, so let's look at it as opportunities to succeed. So we have many opportunities to succeed in education based on some things that have happened in the recent past. So the negative effects of technology and social media, the amount of screen time kids have, what they're doing, what they're listening to, what they're seeing, maybe more importantly, what they're not doing. Not reading a good book, maybe the good book. So we know there's a lot of negative effects of technology and social media that we need to counter in education. The social, emotional, and mental health crisis, that's not a mystery to any of us. There's so many things going on in the community to address these things, and Morton is no different. Our kids have experienced the same kind of things, and this was actually trending badly before the pandemic. So this wasn't just brought on by the pandemic, but the pandemic was kind of like throwing fuel on a fire in terms of anxieties and depression, kids refusing to come to school, strange behaviors, and even out of kids that you wouldn't have considered to be at-risk students. So it's a very pervasive problem that we're going to be looking at. And coming out of a global pandemic, and I hope we are, there are questions we should ask ourselves. What should we stop doing now that we've been doing for the last 2 years? What should we keep doing? So we're asking ourselves those questions. Maybe we can be better than normal, better than we used to be from what we've learned through the pandemic. So that's one of our goals, and we think about that. We think about how did we use technology for all the absenteeism? We did it pretty well, thanks to Dr. Teeter and a team of people that got that technology backbone and got us a method and a process and software to do that. So that's something we can carry over into the future. When students are absent, maybe they don't fall behind like they used to. And then there's other things we probably need to stop doing, like the isolation that we have. Maybe we need to start more collaboration in the classroom and get back to normal in those regards. So those are some of the thoughts we have, and hopefully coming out of this pandemic. And then there's the perpetual challenge that schools have of trying to figure out how to prepare students for careers and jobs that don't even exist, right? That's a perpetual challenge for educators, and that's one that's in front of us as well. What skills, what knowledge do we need to provide so that they can be successful for who knows what? And the last one's kind of maybe an outlier from the rest, doesn't quite fit in with the rest, but one of the challenges we experience is a constant battle for local control and parental rights. And we'll talk a little bit about that. It doesn't necessarily directly impact students, but it does indirectly impact our students. So those are just a list of, when I think of what are those opportunities to succeed or challenges, those are a few that come to mind. So what can we do about these things? Well, I'm glad you asked. I've kind of divided this into different categories. One, and this is probably the premier, or maybe the most critical one, is dealing with the social, emotional, and mental wellness for our students and our staff. So what are we going to do about that? Well, we already have a team in place, a student support services team, social workers, psychologists, counselors, that are helping the very difficult situations, kind of like I think of it as triage or an ER. When things bubble up, things boil over, we have a great team in place to address students that are dealing with severe issues. And we're going to continue with that. But to add to that, the Board of Education has hired a wellness coordinator for the district to look at more proactive and preventative strategies for all students. What can we be doing for all students in our classrooms that help them become more resilient, that help them deal with some of the anxieties? Maybe they're not one who's boiling over, but they've got anxieties, they've got stresses, they're a little down. What can our teachers be doing to help that? Can they be giving small doses of stress to build up that immunity to stress to the point where they're resilient? That's what I think we need to address. And so the Board of Education has hired a wellness coordinator who's an expert in this field, that's going to be acting as a kind of a job coach for teachers, going to provide professional development for teachers, be access for consultation for teachers that are dealing with issues in their classroom. And we're on the cutting edge in that regard. I don't know of any other district that has that position, but I would guess that in a few years it's going to be commonplace. So we're really excited about that. We think that's going to go a long way in terms of addressing these challenges. Increasing student engagement in activities. We feel strongly that when students are plugged in to their school community, they're involved in activities, whether it's sports or clubs or fine arts, when they're plugged in and they have a group of friends and they feel part of something, you know what? They're healthier. They're mentally healthier. They're safer for themselves. They're safer for others. They care about their community. They're plugged in. But more and more, we have this paradox. People feel alone. They feel isolated, and then their behaviors just magnify it. They isolate themselves. And again, that might go back to social media and those kind of issues that the kids are dealing with. So how do you counter that? You keep track of every single student in junior high and high school, what they're doing, how they're plugged in to what they're doing, and addressing those that don't seem to be plugged into anything. What can we plug them into? How can we mentor them, address their concerns before it's too late? So, big believer in increasing those opportunities for students, addressing students, and really tracking on them, honestly, person by person, of who's really not plugged into things. And that could involve churches as well. So some kids are plugged in really well with church, and that's great, or other outside activities. So getting the sense of, okay, what are these kids involved in, and partnering sometimes with churches in that goal. Our faculty and staff were on the front lines of this pandemic, and they had stresses of their own and fears and their own family issues that arose from it. So they're not to be forgotten when it comes to the mental health issues. And so we're going to work to build community in the staff, make them feel a part of it. Teaching can be a very isolating career. One person in a classroom by themselves pretty much all day with teenagers or young ones. And sometimes that can be very isolating. So we're looking to address that and find ways to build up our staff in that regard. Trainings for parents are, I think, critical right now. We have parents that just don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with their kids, with the mental health issues that they're experiencing. And our wellness coordinator is going to be very instrumental in providing some of those trainings herself, but also bringing in experts. And if parents wish to take part in that, they can take part in that. I feel like we almost need a parent hotline in our district right now to address some of these things. So those are some of the thoughts surrounding social, emotional, and mental wellness in our district. Another is communication skills. Now, in the adult world, who can think of an example of where this is done really well? Where people debate difficult topics, and it's done with respect and thoughtful? Yes, right, none. None. It doesn't happen, even in the adult world. So our students see no good examples of this. So I feel like we need to overcome that, and we need to address that. So how do you overcome the myriad of bad examples? You provide good examples. Actually intentionally addressing how to have rich and respectful discourse and debate. How do we do that well? How do we teach kids how to use reliable sources? Which sources out there are reliable? You can Google, you can find the answer, any answer you want, you can find, right? And so often we live in an echo chamber, right? YouTube is keeping track of what you're already watching, so they're going to feed you more of what you're already watching, and pretty soon you don't really hear any other viewpoints in different situations. So how do we determine what those resources, those reliable sources are? How do we take our own beliefs, our own foundation, add to it, and develop a coherent viewpoint that we can communicate? That sounds like a great goal, doesn't it? I wish we could do that in the adult world as well, but with cancel culture, sound bites, mic drops, this is not the world that we used to live in. So can we listen? Like, I think about what if kids were graded not on how well they conveyed their point of view, but how well they listened to the opposing point of view. Like, can you recount the opposing point of view well? Can you think through the points? Can you see the weaknesses in the argument and the strengths? Can you see the weaknesses in your own argument? So it's about teaching kids how to think, and definitely not what to think. That's forced on us enough already. So seeing the difference, I feel like they're telling me what to think instead of how to think. We want to teach kids how to think for themselves. So that's a challenge, especially in light of the fact there aren't a lot of good examples out there. Navigating conflicts with peers. So in the end of the day, when we've had these disagreements, how do we understand that, okay, I don't accept that point of view? So it's not about acceptance, it's about understanding. I understand that point of view, but I don't accept that as your truth. I have my truth, I have the truth. And so how do we teach kids, okay, it's not about accepting everything, but it's about disagreeing, but doing it respectfully. When you walk away, you can still treat each other with respect and love. That's not what we see in society, right? We see cancellation, emotional rants. That's what we see. So how can we undo that? How can we teach kids, okay, we've exhausted our efforts. We've had this cordial debate. We disagree, and we walk away, and we can still be friends. So that's a goal, I think, in our society today we really need to work on. And then I think about this. We as Dr. Hill showed you, our academics in this district has been excellent for a long, long time, and it will be for a long, long time. That's going to always be a goal of ours. But I always worry when kids leave and they've got the intellect, are they conveying it well to others in a job situation? Can kids introduce themselves to strangers? I feel like we're struggling on that front. Do they know how to shake someone's hand? I guess we're shaking hands again, right? Or some of us are. Do they know how to do that? Do they know how to introduce themselves? Do they know how to have a dialogue with one another, back and forth? I know how this is supposed to go. Can I talk on the phone to somebody? I don't know if you've seen some kids talk on the phone sometimes. It's like they don't even know what to do. They know how to text, but having a phone conversation with someone, especially in a professional context. So those are a few things about communication skills that I think we're going to be focusing on. And this is key, I think for all of us, to have a purpose in mind to everything we're doing is so critical. And sometimes we forget that with students. And they end up living kind of a perpetual present tense. Like, well, there's today, and I'm not worried about tomorrow. And then there's tomorrow, and it's just a perpetual present tense instead of a future focus where there's some meaning, some light at the end of the tunnel that kind of brings context to everything we're doing today. So I really like to instill a future focus in kids. Where are you headed? Are you doing the things today to get to where you want to be? Because sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do to get to where you want to be, right? And so that idea of a future focus, I think, is critical, and a lot of that, leads to a job, a workplace, a career, not always, but sometimes. So I really want to facilitate and increase the great job the high school's already been doing in terms of increasing internships and apprenticeships. I want to grow that. So if you're a business leader in this room right now, know that. I'll probably be contacting you about how can we get our kids out of the classroom for a period of time and into your workforce and get that experience, that real world experience. And I think about my own children. I have 3 that went all through Morton schools. They're very successful. They're employed, thank goodness. And but I think about the jobs they had. I think about my son who worked at Steak and Shake for like 5 or 6 years. You want to talk about a real world experience? I absolutely loved hearing the stories when he came home about the crazy stories about customers, coworkers. Management was ridiculous, in some of these places. And the things they asked him to do, and all the things that happened and things that were said to him by people, and how he got through it. And he was at Caterpillar, and he had much the same story about Caterpillar. There's just interesting people in the world, and how do you navigate them? And you're being thrust into them, and you can't escape, right? So much to it that is even above and beyond the workplace skills is the people skills, right? So how do we increase that in our kids so that the first time they are into a workforce isn't when they get their first job, that they've already seen some of this and they've already experienced some of it and they've grown as a result of it. We're going to continue to grow AP and dual credit opportunities for kids. We've got students now, and maybe some of your own children, who are walking into college and getting out with a bachelor's degree in 3 years. So I don't have to tell you about the financial savings that involves, but also just moving on with life and getting to what their goals are. So we're going to continue growing those opportunities. That, again, the high school has done a fantastic job with that. I think about 21st century skills, soft skills, we've already talked about a little bit. These are things that aren't tested. And it's really tricky for an organization sometimes to focus on something that's not measured, even though you know it's critical to do. So you have to force yourself to focus on those things. So the collaboration skills, the creativity, the innovation, the entrepreneurship, those kind of things, communication skills, verbal and presentation skills. Those are critical, and they're not tested. There isn't a state test that tests how well you can present something to somebody. So that's got to be intentional. So we're going to be intentional about that. And then I think in light of the fact that we're all focused on our goals, our path, us, me, you know, we need to stop and think it's not all about me, right? We need to have kind of a service mentality. Think about how do I be a giver and not just a taker of resources. So the citizenship concept and the community service opportunities, I think, are going to be critical as well. And the final category I have here for us is just maintaining rigorous standards, standard-driven curriculum, making sure that we're addressing everything educationally. Sometimes it's easy to get off path and stray a little bit. When you have a teacher who, you know, they have ideas and they want to go here and there, okay, but are we really addressing the curriculum that we ought to be? Are we really addressing the standards? So that's something we've been working on already. Dr. Teeter's been instrumental in that process, along with our coaches and other people on staff. So we're going to continue that. And, you know, more and more people are concerned, the public is concerned about what are we teaching students? What's going on in the public schools? Don't you all wonder about that? So we're going to try to take that mystery away. And eventually, when we get these things figured out, we're going to have them on our website. You'll be able to go and see, well, what are they learning in 5th grade in these areas? And we can see what's being taught. So we're going to have more transparency on that once we get through the work that we're doing right now in aligning everything to our standards. But that's clearly communicating those to the public, I think, are critical. And finally in this category, improving the education of the most needy students. You know, we have populations of multilingual students, some that don't even speak English when they come to us. We have populations of struggling students, students that are struggling academically. And we're addressing those with adding a teacher. The board has added a teacher, a multilingual teacher for next year. And we've added some teachers also to address our struggling students. So thanks to the board for addressing those concerns. And also the social-emotional concept. You know, we have kids that have such social-emotional issues, we can't even educate them within the confines of our district. They're sent to other places. But we're starting to look at ways maybe we can build programs here and bring those students back here so they don't have an hour-long bus drive to get to where they're at, and maybe we can do better than what they're experiencing elsewhere. That's a really big challenge, but one we're looking into. So the neediest students of all, how can we address their needs? That's definitely something we're considering. So the kind of the outlier concept that I said earlier is what about local control? What about parents' rights? And all I can say to that is that we are committed, the school board, the administration are committed to continue to champion local control. I mean, we know things are coming at us at all times. You've got the pandemic and you've got legislators who love to legislate for schools. It's their favorite thing to do, and often we disagree. So how do we defend against that? What do we do to really foster local control in the face of government overreach? So that's going to be critical. So continuing to champion parent rights, to give parents the authority to make these decisions. And I'll tell you, you have a Board of Education right now that's doing an outstanding job of representing the parents in this community. And I'm really proud to be part of that team. It's just an excellent team. They truly care about our students, and they're united on that front. So it's very excited to be part of that, and very excited to be part of the district moving forward. Looking forward to not the challenges, but the opportunities to succeed. So the forecast is slightly cloudy in the morning, but a good chance of sun as the day goes on. So thank you. And now I'd like to introduce, it's my pleasure to introduce Alyssa Williams, Director of Morton Public Library.
So I'm excited to be with you today in person and share what has been happening at the library. So first, I'd like to take a minute to thank our service of our library board members. I know we have our president of the board, Laura Turner, here with us today, and our vice president, Jeff Keach. And our board has worked tirelessly through the last 2 years to help us navigate the challenges of remaining open during the pandemic. So school collaboration, community engagement, technology, and facility improvement were the 4 pillars of our long-range plan, which was adopted in 2016. In the past 6 years, we've renovated the library, increased our community presence outside of the building, and built a strong partnership with District 709, which includes an agreement for library cards for every student attending school regardless of their address. We are currently in the process of developing a new strategic plan for our next 3 years. Dr. Aaron Buchko from Bradley University is facilitating this process for us, which consists of a 10-member committee of 3 board members, 3 community representatives, and 3 staff members, as well as myself. We helped to finalize this new strategic direction early this summer. So far, conversations have focused on how to serve families through their entire life cycle with the idea of establishing some intergenerational programs in the future. I'd like to touch briefly on the things that we started in the past 2 years that we will continue doing. You know, the pandemic was an interesting time for all of us, and it did cause us to innovate. You know I see Rachel and Weston sitting out there, and you have mobile ordering and curbside pickup now, which, I mean, who thought you'd develop an app in a few months, right? We were doing the same thing at the library, innovating. So our book valet, which is a fancy way of saying curbside service, is still very popular, especially with mothers of young children who don't want to get all those kids out of the car, especially this winter. So we will continue to deliver books to people at their car. They place the books on hold, they come in, we let them know, they drive up, they call us, we bring them out to them. People love it. It's been great for both our seniors too, who might have mobility issues but still want to get out and read as well. We started participating in the Place Farmers Market and more in 2020. It was an important way for us to reach the community. We continued that last year, and we'll be back again this year, and that's been just a great way to connect with people and share what's happening at the library. Our Groove in the Garden concert series is something that actually had been happening before the pandemic, but we were so excited that it was something we could still do outside safely in our Hannah's Reading Garden. And last year, we doubled our attendance numbers, and we're looking forward to bringing music back to the garden this summer in July. So bring your lawn chairs every Friday in July, stop over, get some, iced latte at Eli's, and come on, sit in the garden and listen to live music. It's a great time. Of course, everybody was on Zoom the last 2 years, and some of us still are occasionally. So we started, of course, doing virtual programs, and now there's a statewide partnership called Illinois Library Presents, where we're able to offer author programs that we might not ordinarily be able to afford. It's not too late to register for next week's program with Parks and Recreation star Nick Offerman and Jeff Tweedy of Wilco, who will discuss Offerman's latest book, Where the Deer and the Antelope Play, Pastoral Observations of One Ignorant American Who Loves to Walk Outside. Other upcoming presentations include author Michelle Zauner, who wrote the runaway bestseller memoir, Crying in H Mart, which we couldn't keep on our shelves last summer. So we're excited that through those innovations, we're able to bring big name authors to our community in a virtual environment. At the library, we call ourselves the Library of Choice. As we know, we get many patrons from surrounding areas. And did you know, though, that we're the busiest library in Tazewell County? In the past 12 months, we've circulated more books than our larger neighbors, Fond du Lac, Morton, Pekin, and Washington. In January, I did this deep statistical analysis into our circulation because I was hearing from other library directors that their circulation wasn't recovering, that they were down 20 to 30%. And I knew we were down a little, but I didn't think it was that deep. So I crunched a bunch of numbers, and for the last calendar year, we were only down 10% compared to pre-pandemic numbers. But last month, March of 2022, our numbers were back to pre-pandemic levels, and we're really starting to see our traffic pickup as well as our circulation continue to go up. So we know that our community loves and uses the library, and people from other communities love and use your Morton Public Library. In the past year, we've been able to expand some beloved programs and add some new services, all through grant opportunities. So this is a photo of our popular story walk at Idlewood Park, and in May, let's hope it's May, Joel, if the rain would just stop, we will install a new story walk at Lakeland Park, which was funded through the Chamber of Commerce's Festival Give Back project. Thank you to Joel again and the Morton Park District for partnering with us on this project. Story walks are updated every 2 weeks during the summer, and we constantly receive great feedback from all ages who enjoy the story walk at Idlewood. In fact, last summer, I would go out and change the story walk like at 6 o'clock in the morning, because if you go during the day when kids are there, they follow you around like you're the Pied Piper, wanting to see what the next story is. But I was amazed when I would be out that early in the morning at the number of walkers who are out at that time, and they would say, "Oh, you're putting a new story up. I can't wait to walk through it tomorrow." So it's not just the kids and families, it's all ages who love to read the stories at Idlewood Park. So last year, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and the Illinois State Library received federal funding and had 3 grant programs to distribute funds for emergency relief and support to libraries as library spaces were modified in response to and recovery from the pandemic. The Morton Library received a grant for $18,000 to update the software that we use to manage our public computers and public printing, which provided for the purchase of new payment kiosks and a new printer, as well as this new scanning station. This station provides scanning, copying, faxing, document translation. It does even, actually, you can scan photos, and it does color correction. It's really kind of amazing. And so now patrons can come in, they can scan their own documents. We had taken away our scanning when the pandemic happened because we had like 3 pieces of software you had to use, and we all had to stand really close together and help you use it, so it just wasn't good when we were in those early days trying to social distance. So now we can scan again, and then patrons can also do their own self-service faxing through this. Lots more people are working remotely, and they're sending confidential paperwork for job verification, and we have provided faxing at the library since 2016, but we've always had a staff member who has to mediate that transaction. Now they can come up to the Scan Ease station and do it themselves. Thanks to our other favorite partner, the Morton Community Foundation, last year we installed a bike repair station, and this year we'll be installing a walker display system in order to curate art exhibits in our meeting rooms as well as in the children's department. We're looking forward to working with local artists to bring back art to Morton, and then also in the children's department, we're looking forward to being able to display student artwork from our own programs, and just debut art in the library. And we hope to have that up sometime this summer, hopefully during a 4th Friday. Finally, one of our other keys to success this past year was the creation of our Youth Services Outreach Coordinator position. This new staff member, Miss Ashley, visits preschools, daycares, and elementary schools to do read aloud, STEM projects, and teach basic library skills. She also hosts field trips and provides a single point of contact for teachers to request supplemental books for their classrooms, which she then delivers to the grade schools. Field trips can take place at the library as well as off-site, as we plan to do a hosted story walk at Idlewood this spring. When not out in the community, she leads our STEM programming for grades K through 3. Her first project was to revamp our learning kits and create more STEM kits. Learning kits feature books, manipulatives, and games related to a topic such as phonics, telling time, money management. We know these visits that Miss Ashley is making are providing a positive impact, as we've had increased visitors to the library as they come to see Miss Ashley, or parents are saying, "Oh, my child begged to come here after you came to her classroom." So that's been a really great success for us. One other update opportunity is a chance for us to update our Monday morning readers program. This summer, we will launch Ready Readers, a program for children entering 2nd and 3rd grades who are at risk for summer reading regression. These students will be just below grade level and not qualified for the school district's summer school. Students will be identified by the schools, both private and public, we're working with everyone in Morton, and invited by the library to the program. We will host 2 4-week sessions of Ready Readers and will serve 30 students each session. Each week, students will rotate through stations focusing on reading comprehension, reading fluency practice, and word work skills such as phonics, sight words, and rhyming. The library will utilize 12 to 14 volunteers to make this program a success. We have a few grants pending to provide an updated level reader's book collection and literacy-based games for the activity stations. So that's a look at what is happening at the Morton Public Library. Stay tuned for later this summer when we release our new strategic direction. And I appreciate your time this morning. And now it's time to hear from our parks from Director Joel Dickerson.
Good morning. Thank you for giving us all the time to come here and present the things that we've been able to do over the last couple of years and the things we're looking forward to doing in the future. Giving us the opportunity to serve you in our community is obviously what we do, and it's exciting to be able to share things with you. I think a lot of times we have a lot of projects that we're able to do, but getting the word out to people and really sharing it with you is sometimes a challenge. So very quickly, let me address our board. We've had a significant changing of the guard over the last few years. 100 years of park board experience has retired off of the board in the last 3 years, with 3 members, one serving for 40 years in Jim Ingold, Jerry Metz, who had served for 34 years, and Fred Remmert, who had served for 24 years. So those 3 board members who have retired, we call off of our board, combined had 100 years of service with the Park District. They led us through multiple decades with sound financial strategies as well as appropriate development plans, and have passed the torch on to our newest board members with Mike Kaluza, who is a local business owner here in Morton with Synergetic Technologies, Kip Toffer, who currently works for the Village of Morton, and Chris Gergen, who owns a Country Financial office on Main Street. So I know that our new board members, along with our 2 incumbent members, are looking forward to continuing the trends and strategies that have made our park district a successful entity over the years. So I'm going to briefly run through some projects that we have been able to complete over the last couple of years, as well as give you an idea of things that we have coming up that we think are very exciting. The Lakewood Park property that we added just a couple years ago, Alyssa talked about briefly. We have a story walk project that we are doing in conjunction with the Morton Public Library with funding from the Pumpkin Festival Give Back project we're very excited about. And as we speak today, our fishing docks for Lakewood Park are being installed in the rain. I have to go check on that as soon as we're done here. That was also paid for with the Community Give Back project from the Morton Pumpkin Festival last year. So we have been lucky recipients of that project multiple times in the last few years and have done some, what I believe are some unique improvements throughout the park system that really serve some specific target demographics that we maybe haven't done a great job of serving in the past. These fishing docks that we're putting in at Lakewood Park are going to be handicap accessible. We'll have concrete pathways that go right to the dock, and you will be able to have somebody with mobility issues, whether that's in a wheelchair or someone who uses a walker or cane, those types of things, have easy access to be able to go out, sit and enjoy the waterfront there. So we're very excited about that. I really like this picture in the bottom left-hand corner. The school district does a community cleanup. Say it again? The Help-a-thon each spring, and they send numerous groups throughout the community to a bunch of different locations and do some cleaning, helping get some projects done. We're always lucky to have a number of those groups to come to multiple parks of ours. They do a great job, and that's just one of the pictures from this last spring that I thought was pretty cool. But they have a good time. Ribbon cutting ceremony here with late Jeff Green family, as well as the mayor and Dan Maloof, who worked to put together the deal to have the lake property donated to the Park District. So we're very excited about that project, and hopefully here in the coming weeks we'll be able to see it complete. Birchwood Park, as many of you have seen, the village has a big project going on right next door, so we thought it was a good time for us to go ahead and work on that park as well. The pond that had been at Birchwood Park for a number of years, used to be 2 ponds, right, was consolidated down to 1 pond when the new softball field was constructed a few years ago, as well as the parking lot. Was experiencing significant issues with geese. So the one, you find out all kinds of interesting statistics when you work in this type of a job. So I'm going to give you one of those. An adult goose, on average, creates 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of goose feces every day. So when you have a resident population of 120 geese that call a half-acre pond home, you can do the math there. That pond was only about 3-4 feet deep in many locations, and it wasn't due to dirt. So we have drained that pond. We're filling it in and turning it into a wetland restoration project, working with Midwest engineers to come up with a beautification project that is going to have wildflowers, a number of native wetland plants. We're looking at partnering to put in some beehives and do some educational, present some educational opportunities at that park as well. We just completed a renovation as we were doing that, a renovation of the concessions building at Birchwood Park, and we've added a storage building as well for our purposes. Northwood Park saw some significant improvements over the last couple of years. As many of you know, we have really gotten deep into disc golf tournaments. We were awarded the 2019 World Championships that we held a handful of years ago. We partnered with Ledgestone Insurance to offer that event, as well as a number of community organizations in the village. We were awarded the 2022 World Championships as well. We will be holding those this year in July. And we went for a different World Championships this year. So the 2019 was professional disc golfers. We ended up having 12,000 unique visitors to town over the week of the World Championships. The videos that were posted on YouTube had over 3 million unique views on YouTube. So we got a pretty good reach, and we see a lot of tourist activity to our disc golf courses, people who are driving from significant distances to come and experience what we provide here in Morton. So our 2022 World Championships is the juniors and masters divisions of the World Championships. So we are going to see a lot of under 18 youth playing for the World Championship title this year. And you can imagine what comes with under 18 youth who are competing. Lots of families, lots of parents, siblings, grandparents. So I apologize in advance if the restaurants are extremely busy during that week, but that's what we are. That's what we want. That's what we really strive to do with these tournaments. So we're very excited about that. We opened our second course at Northwood Park, so our park district now has 3 full 18-hole disc golf courses, all ranked within the top 10 disc golf courses in the state, 2 of them ranked in the top 10 disc golf courses in the country. So we are excited to continue to be awarded those major events, and we'll continue to bring people into the area and really showcase our facilities and what we have. Southwood Park, I just bring this up briefly. Morton Buildings has been great with our junior football program that runs at Southwood Park. They donated another storage building out there this year for the supplies and equipment needs for our football program. So just a thank you to them again for continuing to work with us and work with that program to really give them everything that they need to be successful and run another great outdoor activity for our youth in the community. Ulrich Wildlife Preserve was a partnership with the Village of Morton. Jeff and I talked, I can't even tell you how many times we sat down and talked about this property. 72 acres of property that sat out on the northwest corner of the Village of Morton for decades and decades. Since I believe the early 70s, the village had owned this property, but it was landlocked and really no good way to access the property. When the Trails at Timber Oaks subdivision was then developed, the village made all of the necessary improvements to make sure that there was a roadway that led right to this property. we worked out a deal, property changed hands, and now we have beautiful outdoor hiking trails at this location that people are really enjoying. We completed a parking lot, including a water fountain, picnic table areas, and trail signage is complete and will be installed here in the next couple weeks. So we're very excited about this. We get a lot of people who go out there and say, I never knew this was here. This is so cool to have. And we're very excited about that. So that's an awesome addition here over the last couple years. The corner, Jeff spent a decent amount of time, Mayor Kaufman spent a decent amount of time talking about the gas and water building facility that's going to be going in on Birchwood Street, at the corner of Birchwood and 4th. Directly across from that is a corner piece of property. Those of you who have lived here for a long time would probably think of it as where Steve Schultz Landscaping used to be. There used to be a building there. The village took that building down and subsequently donated the property to the Park District for our use. And we are looking at installing a dog park at this location. We currently have an awesome dog park out at Oakwood Park. It's a large one. It's a unique one with its wooded location, but you can't walk your dog there. And those individuals who live in town have to load dogs in the car, drive them out there, which a lot of people do, and from surrounding communities. This is going to give folks an opportunity to be able to walk directly to a small dog park. The vicinity of this location to apartment complexes and people who don't necessarily have yards for their pets to be able to get out and run should be a convenient location for them. So once we get the grass in good shape there, we will be looking at developing a dog park. So we're excited about that as well. And the last project that I have to talk about is something that we've been working on for, I would say, about a year now. The First Presbyterian Church of Morton. We began conversations with them about, like I said, about a year ago, discussing the future of their facility and their property. And they have been great to work with, very kind, and have donated their building and property to the Morton Park District. One specific area that we know as a park district that we have not really served to its fullest potential is our seniors. Many communities have a senior center. Many communities provide opportunities for gathering and activities. This is going to be the location of our new senior programming facility. We plan on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings using this for a variety of programs for seniors, a location to come and do a number of different things. And then we have some significant improvements that we're looking at making to the interior of that building to turn it into a rental space for weddings, for parties, for all types of things. The church has taken amazing care of this building. It turns 100 years old next year. It was an old dairy barn. You go inside and you walk upstairs and it's beautiful. And it's going to be a great addition to our community, something that I believe a variety of people are going to get to use for a variety of purposes. So I know that we have Mary Jane Johnson here, who she's one of the folks from the church that I've been working with extensively, and I'd like to thank her and their church for this donation. The church will continue to meet on Sundays. We are leasing back the facility to them to be able to continue to use for their congregation on Sundays. So it was, in the grand scheme of things, a win-win, and we're really looking forward to that new relationship and the opportunities that this brings. Last but not least, so 4th of July was something that we really dove into the deep end last year. We decided to relocate this event from the VFW to McClellan Park. It was just a great day, getting to see our community come together, plenty of space for people, kids running, having a great time. These are just a few pictures from the event, but it was awesome. And we're really looking forward to this again this year. We are moving our Morton community event back to the 3rd of July. So I'm using this as an opportunity to set it straight right now. 3rd of July, we will be back at McClellan Park. Creekmer Wealth Advisors came to us and said, John Creekmer specifically said, we came to your event last year. It was awesome. We want to be the sponsors of this event moving forward. So, new relationship for a number of years to come that we're going to be working with them to put on a fantastic community event along with the Village of Morton. Opperly Construction, who was, I can't even tell you, we provided all of our power, helped us out with a lot of items to be able to make this event possible, as well as American Rentals, who has been an outstanding just business to have in town for our purposes. We use them for a lot of things. They were instrumental in making this possible too, and continue to work with them in the future. So I think back to a couple of the odd things that happened over the last couple of years. We hosted a goodbye to teachers for Lincoln Elementary School at McClellan Park, where students came and drove through the parking lot and waved goodbye to their teachers in 2020. I mean, how weird of things did we have to go through? We lended out picnic tables to our Morton restaurants. 64 picnic tables we went and delivered to our restaurants here in town because we weren't allowed to eat inside. Very interesting things that have happened over the last year. We're excited to not be doing those anymore. We got a unique opportunity to shine though, right? Our expertise and our specialty is outdoors. So it was like this pandemic hit and we're like, oh my gosh, we can do all kinds of things. We can give people all kinds of opportunities to be able to continue being social, to have those interactions with people, and our parks have seen more use over the last 2 years than we have ever seen before. Our programs for youth have had higher registration rates than we've ever had before, and we're excited for the upcoming summer as well to continue to offer quality programming to everyone. The economic forecast of the Park District is strong. We were, with the Community Foundation's help, we did not have to dip into any of our strategic funds to cover the additional costs and the lost revenues of the pandemic. They ran a number of COVID relief grant cycles that we were able to take advantage of, and really helped us at a time when there was so much uncertainty as to what is coming next. They have been an outstanding partner. We've worked with them on a number of items, and I would like to thank Scott for everything that they do at the Community Foundation. The number of entities and projects that they touch is just amazing. So I thank you, Scott, for everything you do. We were able to decrease our tax rate to our residents in the Morton Park District for the second time in 5 years. So, and you get your tax bills coming up this year, the Park District portion of your tax bills will decrease again. We're very proud. We're very proud to be in a position where we have the ability to do that. I've always told my board, as I'm preparing the tax levy each year, you know, we don't increase our taxes just to increase our taxes because we're allowed to. We increase them when we have a need to. And this year, due to a great financial year that we had last year, we're passing that on to the taxpayers. So we're very excited about that. Our corporate replacement tax, the mayor spoke to briefly about our sales tax. Our corporate replacement tax, which is our portion from businesses that is given back to the local entities, doubled this year. I should say almost double, 98% increase. And while that number in the grand scheme of a lot of entities is not a huge number, 90,000 to 180,000, for us, that's a large amount of money for us to be able to do exciting things through the community. And it's that money, you never know how much the checks are going to be when they show up, and they come, and my business manager comes to me and says, hey, it's X amount, and I'm like, where did that come from? And nobody can give me an explanation as to why it happened. They think it might have been the medical marijuana thing. They think it might have been vehicles. Alyssa knows why. I do. I'll give you an article. Excellent. So anyway, we're excited to see that the economy is still moving forward and that we're continuing to reap those benefits. The projected challenges that we have in the future, it's staffing. And while we were able to have more applications than we've ever had for a lot of our positions this year, there are some that have been an extreme challenge to be able to fill. The minimum wage continues to raise each year, $1 a year, but minimum wage doesn't seem to cut it for jobs anymore, and people want more and more to do the same job. We employ about 165 youth every summer. When you think about the fact that we're going to be paying $13 and then $14, $15, $16 an hour to stand in the concession stand, to lifeguard, to supervise youth programs. It really impacts what we do. But we have a plan. We'll continue to do everything that we can to continue offering positive, excellent recreation opportunities to our community. So thank you to the Chamber for putting this event on, and I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Leanne Brown, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce and the CEO of the EDC.
Thank you, Joel, for that introduction. And certainly, I know we're upon the hour here, but several of our speakers, all of us, it's been several years. So you can tell we're all very passionate, excited to be amongst people and share all the great work that's happening throughout our community. Certainly, we have great leaders that you heard from and entities providing opportunities for us as the Morton Economic Development Council to leverage to build our economy. So this morning, looking forward to sharing some recent and forecasted economic opportunities as we leverage our Morton Economic Development Council with a mission to help build a strong and sustainable economy for the citizens of Morton by promoting and supporting existing businesses and attracting new businesses to the community. The Morton EDC strives to help develop, grow, and advance. The Morton EDC was established in 2008, and certainly want to give thanks to our current dedicated board of directors who give their time, knowledge, and expertise and passion to support our businesses and help our community and region to thrive. Morton EDC, we operate on 5-year strategies. And this year we launch our Mission Morton to be our GPS coordinates to guide us forward. We have 3 focus areas in this 5-year strategy: local businesses and job growth, new businesses and entrepreneurs, and organizational alignment and effectiveness. Hopefully you picked up an EDC Mission Morton publication with further details of our strategy, our initiatives, our impacts, and certainly how we will track our measuring our success of our results. So a few things to highlight today as we move through and measure these results, as we identify indicators that are enhancing our economy and community impacts, gauging our opportunities. I want to share a few highlights of what has already transpired as we kick off this year and what we anticipate over the next 5 years. We already have issued out all of our Morton Micro Grant funds, which is exciting. And thanks, Bart. Each year we are allocated funds with a direct investment from the Morton Community Bank. We have already issued out, actually yesterday issued our last micro grant, and this is a great indicator that already come April, we have issued out all of our micro grants to help support businesses in their growth and their projects that they're moving through, but most importantly, supporting job growth. These businesses allocated micro grants will generate over 38 jobs throughout this year. A strategy that we're really leaning into is ag tech. Agriculture is certainly important and has been our history of our Morton community. Of course, we are the pumpkin capital of the world, with Nestle Libby's plant here and still producing and canning 85% of the world's pumpkin. And I know Bob Bannister is here with us from the Libby's plant this morning. So ag tech, we will continue forward with focusing on this mission to promote economic opportunity and sustainable growth and stimulate innovations. We are driving this regional strategy of ag tech and bringing people together to really better understand how rapidly changing the ag tech industry is moving forward. We'll be hosting quarterly AgTech Connect sessions for purposeful collisions, bringing people and resources together. Our next session will be in June and hosted by Precision Planning, so stay tuned for more information. Morton Made. Morton Made is a marketing strategy campaign to build awareness around the business culture here in Morton of our generational businesses and innovation with Morton's Built to Last values. Some very interesting stats. I know we have several realtor friends in the audience. Our housing market in Morton has been astounding. I think currently, as of last Friday, we have 13 homes on the market. This could be 2 today or maybe 10. I know many offers within minutes are being made throughout our homes available in our Morton community. And that just goes to show what leadership we have, the values of the amenities that we get to enjoy every day here in our Morton community. The average list price of these homes have been $371,000. We have, as of last Friday, 24 pending homes for sale. We have 3 new construction, which is out at Fieldstone subdivision, and homes sold so far in 2020, 24 homes totaling over $16 million in building our Morton economy. Other avenues with workforce livability, we have a workforce livability task team. Several years ago went through a market research with Bradley students and University of Illinois. This information of our market opportunities and demands informed Ethos Design Build for their residential builds that have been newly constructed down off of Queenwood and opening soon out off of Harding. We continue our workforce opportunities as we partner with the GP 2030 and trying to market and share the story of our region. I'm sure many of you are looking to hire employees. I'm sure you've seen the signs and the advertisements of all of our businesses looking to hire people. And we are trying to come together as a region to share the opportunities that we have for people to live, work, and thrive here in Morton and our region. We continue to build out our Morton Connect community app as a tool to showcase our Morton amenities, resources, businesses, and happenings. We also are very involved in regional workforce alliance strategies, supporting career readiness and help to stabilize the economy and outreach. We just recently had a great conversation with the District 709 and the high school. And as Craig Smock said, businesses are eager to modify the way that they attract employees and have further engagement with our future workforce and connect early with them as they're moving through their high school days. Speaking of workforce, we continue to host our Morton Mentor Program. We'll be celebrating the closing reception on May 3rd. And we are constantly recruiting mentors. So if you are a business or a community leader that would like to give back your time and share your experiences to help equip our future workforce with their career pathway opportunities, we are always recruiting for our Morton Mentor Program. Business growth. We have a lot of growing resources available, and I hope you visit our EDC website, connect into our newsletters, and connect with us on social media. But one resource we want to highlight is our upcoming cybersecurity session that will be on Tuesday, May 10th. We have a panel of Morton Chamber member businesses that will come together and help educate our businesses on how they can be prepared, questions that they should be asking, and how can we make sure that they remain effective and sustainable. Unfortunately, likely if or when a cyber attack in some form happens to our businesses. So we're excited about that opportunity to help us all be prepared. A few other highlights. The mayor, of course, shared just incredible, exciting news for our Morton community with business growth, new businesses. A few others to highlight, of course, Aldi's, which is helping us continue to increase that sales tax. And if you didn't know, SC2 has occupied the former Veritiv building at the corner of Cortland and North Main across from Compier. They're using the entire warehouse facility for another operation in our region. It's exciting, as the mayor shared, with U-Haul and especially Precision Planting. Morton sits very uniquely with the growth of Precision Planting will propel forward the sites and available property out in that area. It is industrial zoned, and we have very limited industrial zone properties throughout our region. And of course, our access to interstates continues to be a key selling point, and we look forward to capturing more opportunities in the future. I wish we had more warehouse building, right, Justin? We could sell them 10 to 100,000 square feet, about a 10 a day. So if anybody's interested in building, we probably have a line of prospects waiting at the door for you. EDC partners with the Morton Chamber for placemaking. So busy week, exciting. This Friday we will be launching Fourth Fridays. So hopefully you can come out, enjoy downtown, enjoy shopping, dining local, and the artistic flair with our Fourth Fridays. Launching this Friday for the 2022 season, April through August. We also will be launching another mural project for 2022. We commissioned artist Kelly Scarf for a mural to be placed at the Community Foundation building. We anticipate this to be installed at our July 4th Fridays. I always like to share why the Morton Chamber and why the Morton Economic Development Council. And I think Craig brought this up of perpetual, and we use that for perpetual development. And it really takes both organizations to help businesses move through their journey, be connected, be promoted, and celebrate all the great things that our community has to offer. So the EDC is really the pipeline, creating a healthy business environment, providing tools and resources, and the Chamber is really here to enhance businesses and build our community. I'd like to thank our fellow speakers and all the entities and key representatives helping us to build and enhance our economic environment for people, generating opportunities and building solutions as change presents itself here in the pumpkin capital world. Many of these opportunities are not unique, as Craig said, challenges, but we're going to refer to them as opportunities. Everywhere is looking for workforce, but it's the solutions and coming together for creative opportunities will set Morton and our region apart. And I know over the last 2 years of what we have accomplished as a community, as people, as businesses, we will rise above and bring more people here to fulfill the needs of our growing businesses. So call to action. We have such a connected community, but there's always more that we can do. So I challenge you to positively promote Morton. We need more people telling the good story of why we live, work, educate, play, all the great things that we have available here in our Morton community. To continue to support local, continue to volunteer, continue to embrace Pumpkin Festival, step up to be a part of the community cleanup, also happening this Friday. And thanks to David Mills, CPA, and Cool Insurance for being a part of the community cleanup, and already many businesses and citizens signed up to help. Continue to attend events, and I challenge you to read from your Morton Public Library the book, This Is Where You Belong. It's about creating a sense of place. It's about creating and embracing others and the community that we live in. So in closing, I share my prayer of thoughts as God guides us through our seasons. Using our prior seasons to prepare us, I hope and pray we can all seek the opportunities of change and continue to embrace your sense of belonging here in our Morton community. Together, we can make a greater impact and continue to guide our GPS to achieve a successful Mission Morton. Thank you. And since I'm up here, I'll quickly change hats to the chamber hat and close this out today. Thank you for sticking around with us a little bit longer. Certainly a big thanks to Justin Farrell, Coldwell Banker, for hosting and allowing us to host and sponsor this event. It's great to bring people together and share all the great things that we get to celebrate about our community. Thank you to TCRC for the great breakfast. Pumpkin pancakes again next September 14th through the 17th at your Morton Pumpkin Festival. And certainly thank you to Comfort Inn and Suites for hosting us. At your table, if you look at your agenda card, if you have an orange pumpkin, you are welcome to take the centerpiece. We have an extra one up here. Centerpieces are provided by our several local businesses. Most of them also have a $10 chamber check. So shop local. Thank you for all of your community support, and I hope you have a blessed day.